Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ari Chamasmany, and we are here celebrating 21 years of loaded boards with Donnie Tashman and Pablo Castro, talking about the history of loaded boards, the origin story, and I guess today we are talking about Orangatang Wheels and the history of Orangatang Wheels, the evolution. Where should we jump in? I don't know.
We might as well start. I'll start from the beginning. Yeah. In that, back in the '90s, the only soft wheel available was the Crypto Classics.
Yeah.
And without that, I don't know if there would have been any longboard industry really. That really kind of helped create the genesis. I mean, Powell had the bones like an 88A, but it was a little too hard for my taste and for like. But that was without those Crypto Classics. I think that was very much the genesis.
The big clear ones. Yeah, I guess they were also red.
I guess we kind of we worked with them.
We worked with them.
This was our before Orangatang. We created a loaded wheel. You can see it's powered by Kryptonics or Cryptos.
I remember.
I think you can show it to that camera
floating around,
and then that one will grab it better. Yeah. So we worked with those guys for
many years.
Again, but it was never what we really wanted. It was
so the real game changer, what really I think, ignited the fire of longboarding in a huge way, was in 2004 when Chris Chappett launched the gumball wheels.
The gumball, yeah, because after the came the zigzags. I don't know if you want to show these were awesome.
These guys.
Wheels.
I had them in yellow.
That's what we were using. Everyone.
Well, the gumballs. I remember when we got those wheels. That's what we all wanted to ride, and we would hoard them, and we would ride them ourselves, and you couldn't get enough of them also. And because of that, it actually our boards were $199, I believe, because they were expensive to make, but that time, but $199, those wheels though, our cost was there was no way we can keep $199 at that point. And we were we need to have these wheels on the boards because they just changed the whole game.
The performance of the whole board. This one actually.
That board, actually, the Vanguard,
the one
and so we launched the Vanguard, and I remember we came out with a price of $219 or something. And
no one's gonna buy your board.
Melanie from Daddy's Board Shop called me up, and she's like, "What are you doing? You guys are. This does not make any sense at all." I'm like, "Well, you know what?
Didn't even compute.
This is what we want to ride, and this is the only way we can do it." And she's like, "Nobody's ever broken $200 on a board at that point in 2004 once again." And I remember she calling me back 3 or 4 weeks later and being like, "I don't know what you did, but we've never sold as many of your boards."
Mm-hmm. That was already 2006. That was already bamboo era.
No, this is really
even with the yoke.
This is 2004. Okay. This is when we launched the gumballs, because that wheel was amazing. And then Chris Chappett at ABEC 11 went on to make so many amazing wheels, and we worked very closely with him, and used.
They had an arsenal of wheels. I
Yeah.
remember there was just any kind of riding you wanted to do.
I mean, tremendous credit to the dude. He continues to be very creative and inspirational, and I give him tremendous credit for helping ignite the growth of longboarding.
A next step after this.
It was a huge jump.
Huge jump.
However, come 2006, 2007, we couldn't get enough wheels from Chris. Also, we had different ideas on what we wanted to do with wheels.
And we wanted to develop something with Chris at the time. I remember we talked to him.
Yeah, I used to talk to Chris all the time and be like, "Dude, what do we need to do to A, have consistent stock, and B, we want to design wheels with you and do it as collab." And he kind of hemmed and hawed, and I understand. But at one point I'm like, "Dude, we're gonna if you're not gonna do this with us, we're gonna make our own wheel."
That was during the era when he was just doing wheels. He didn't have trucks. He didn't have his board brand Jet. It was his main squeeze was
it was the flywheels,
the entire line of wheels.
Gumballs, then the zigzags,
then the big zigs,
the big zigs were awesome. Yeah, those were awesome. Right. So we built a first wheel with Kryptonics, which is actually that wheel over there. No, this one. in 2000.
Yeah, because this was like a collab.
This was their wheel. We just put
Their
our
wheel,
graphic on it.
Exactly.
But then we designed our own wheel, which was, kind
This
of
was
a
Bravo.
Kryptonics Bravo,
yeah.
which was a precursor to the Stimulus, really, which is kind of the wheel that we wanted.
Show it.
Yeah.
It's yellowed with time. I mean, that wheel is circa 2005 or 6.
Jeez.
They were slow. They were a little bit slow.
Yeah, we
remember-
had problems with production.
Used to
Not
go.
a bad looking wheel, man. I mean, for the era, you think like there was a lot of weird stuff out there during that
Yeah.
time. So like,
When we were testing different wheels, I remember Don and I, we would go out of the office, like kick push as hard as we could, me with one set of wheels, him with a different set, and then just grab our hands and try to achieve the same speed and then let go to see who would.
We can
like,
still
stop.
hold hands, so if you want. I'd love to.
So, and then we just let go and then see who would advance more. Okay, these are faster. Or these roll better. Remember that?
Well, so because
funny.
so when Chris said, when I told Chris that we're going to make our own wheels, he's like, okay, go for it, but don't do them in green. I remember him very clearly. He's like, don't do them in green. I'm like, cool, okay, we won't. Respect that. You own green, and we've always,
this is a colorway. It's like,
Yeah,
just
well,
stay
he
in your
even had-
lane, dude.
stay in your lane, yeah.
His team,
and he was right.
His team was called the Green Team.
Team
remember?
Green, yeah.
Team Green,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
the
the
hair.
whole branding aesthetic was kind of built on the whole green aspect, so I could see that was definitely.
And you know what? That was a huge blessing for us because it led us into making our colors and our color scheme of the way we did it, and I think that was, and it helped us differentiate and not step on his toes, and
Yeah.
I think it was a great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that you're talking about the colors, these it'll surprise some people, I guess, or not. The way we came up with the colors was
No, it's a trade secret.
Yeah, is it? No, I can say it. So shout out to our
Give away the-
manufacturers, by the
give
way.
away the recipe.
Awesome. Yeah, our guys.
Other family.
So they told us, send us a piece of plastic. If you can send me a piece of plastic of something that looks similar to what you want, that is better than sending me a
Like some
Pantone.
Home Depot paint matching.
We
kind
just
of
got
thing,
Sharpies.
dude?
We just got some Sharpies, and these are the original Sharpie colors.
You
That's
guys
what
are
it is.
just like
we would send them Sharpies,
highlighters,
highlighter,
on,
Sharpie
on like
highlight.
white paper.
and that's how we nailed. That's how we nailed the orange.
We just send them the caps of each, and that's how we nail the orange.
That's awesome.
Then the purple, and
A little leak is that we're redoing the purple right now. Yesterday I sent them a new purple color that we've been working on, so we can update that color. But
yeah, those were fun times.
yeah.
Yeah, and then this
But
is what we
our
came up with.
manufacturer, our manufacturer was famous for inline skate and hockey wheels. That's what they did.
They still are.
They still are.
still
They're
huge
the best
in
in
their
they're the
industry.
best in the world. But they hadn't really done much in the way of longboarding because we went to a different manufacturer than ABEC 11 was using, and it's like Pablo was saying, like we spent a lot of time testing formulas. We continue to. I mean, to this day, we spend a lot of time, a lot of money on, as you know, as you're well aware.
I mean, the wheels were my intro into the whole. That was my introduction to the whole brand. Before Loaded Boards, my crew had basically, it was like you were talking about prized wheels. We were hoarding wheels. For us, it was like the holy grail was like an orange set of 4 presidents. Or, I mean, when you guys remember, you dropped the In-Heats a little later, and that was like everybody.
In-Heats came out before.
In-Heats and for
Before?
Presidents came out in 2008.
Uh-huh.
Stimulus and Durians came out in 2009.
Almost at the same time, but this
I
was
remember
our,
the In-Heats came out like a little after the 4 presidents. You had the 4 presidents out.
They came out at the same time.
Same.
We launched both at the same time.
Then I don't know. Maybe
But,
it was like
Well,
my
we wanted-
exploration
we
to our
need-
group. Our discovery process was that we found out about the 4 president first, and then later discovered the In-Heats, and we're like, oh my god, these wheels feel totally different than anything else.
we wanted to make a different type of zigzag and a different type of big zig.
They had
Well, we actually, I mean, we started with that wheel that you showed earlier, which is a free ride wheel. That's really what we wanted, which became the Stimulus and the Durians. But it was more complicated, and that's why it took it another year. and doing the in heats and for presidents was a little more simple, was a little easier for us to achieve. That's why we launched those first. And also, we were really engaged with the downhill community at that point. And that was the wheel of choice, was a hard lipped wheel. So the in heats and for presidents, and what happened though, a challenging story at that point was we had an amazing team at that point. We had some of the top racers in the world in 2007, 2008.
All stars. At that time.
What was Patrick Switzer, Delua,
Kevin Reimer,
Kelly,
James Kelly,
Louis
Maloney.
Yes.
So
It was an awesome
Dream team.
Kevin Reimer was out skating the wheels, a couple months after they were released, and starting to really push the boundaries on speed in ways that nobody had ever done before.
To the point where
the cores would actually melt out, and the wheels came apart. Wheel came apart on him, and he called me up, told me about that. And within like 2 or 3 days, we had or within a week or two, we had two or three other incidents.
Yeah.
And, and it was terrifying. I mean, I literally did not sleep for days.
I remember.
That.
Yeah.
We decided to do
just waiting for another one to happen.
Just waiting for more.
And we knew, and I guess there were a couple more, but then we thought about doing a recall and just, recalling everything that was out there.
Yeah.
And we thought it was going to destroy us. We
thought that was the end of Orangatang.
The end of Orangatang.
And possibly the end of Reloaded also. That was existential, and that recall, we did it voluntarily. So we just pulled it back, and we didn't even think about the legal stuff. We ended up going to the government organization, to the CPSC, which was a lot of work, but it helped us do it well and right. It was a big effort to pull back all the whales. And like you said, I thought that was the end, finito.
Yeah. But then they were the CPSC. They just started to send emails and magazines all around the planet almost. I mean, at least in the USA, there was a lot of these wheels are recalled. But then we came back with the news that we were going to remake them, and we changed the formula of the core so it would stick better to the urethane of the wheel, and then we came back stronger.
Yeah, I think it actually. We did it because it was the right thing to do.
We obviously we didn't do it.
I mean, people are going to. Maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but obviously, people are going to get hurt and potentially killed on skateboards. That's kind of the risk that you take by pushing yourselves, and that's the nature of what it is. And that's what it is. And we're here to help people push their boundaries. Obviously, we don't want anyone to get hurt, but we definitely don't want anyone to get hurt because we're negligent about it. And that's a core value, obviously. So doing that recall was
literally a core value.
Pun intended. Yes, no pun intended. But it actually, I think, it made us tremendously stronger. It helped us grow because people understood that. They understood that commitment to quality.
So was it one line of wheels that this was happening within, or was it in both the in heats and the four presidents?
I think it happened in the in heats because people were riding the in heats much faster.
Exactly.
I see.
That's what I was.
But it was the same core formula that our manufacturer used for all of the wheels, for all their inline, and they ended up after us. They ended up bringing on a number of other major longboard brands. And one of the things that I'm really proud of is that transition, working with them and changing that formula. Ever since they've used it on all of their cores going forward, or even developed it. So every wheel out there that comes out of them is much higher quality.
It wasn't just a learning process for you as much as it was for them on the other side of things, like learning to build a wheel that's tolerable of.
And it helps all the other brands grow as well because they can make products that are going to be much more durable, that are going to be much safer. And that's I don't know. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Not only did we want to make a better wheel for the market for longboarding, but we also had the idea to be able to approach our competitors and offer them wheels, which we were like, let's say, Loaded, Lanyards, Rain, and we're all like skateboard brands.
Yeah, right.
But this gave us an opportunity to hit them up and build up relationship and friendship, which we're friends.
Cross
To this day.
compatibility.
Well,
to
to
this
take
day.
to take a step back, why did we decide to do Orangatang as a separate brand? You know, it was a big question. So we originally we did them under Loaded, our wheels, but we decided to do Orangatang as a separate brand for a couple of reasons. One is, like Pablo was saying, like it was an opportunity to build relationships and arguably take a leadership role in the longboard industry, and you know, and that was, I think, continues to be very successful to this day. The other reason was also as a personal creative outlet. Orangatang is run very differently creatively than Loaded. You know, our whole design and ethos and sensibility of that brand is much more, you know, flights of fancy, surrealist. It was just a personal, colors, personal creative exploration. But the brand, creating another brand, it was important that we wouldn't sell Loaded wheels to Lanyards or Rain.
They wouldn't buy a Loaded wheel.
Yeah,
obviously.
right.
If it has another brand, and we tried to launch the brand looking very differently than Loaded, like Donnie was saying, this was a little bit more colors, more fun, more surreal ads. When Loaded was a little bit more technical, more like
It essentially gave the brand, as like the company Loaded, a set of wheels in and of itself. Like it quite literally was the vehicle that allowed you guys to take your brand and introduce it to other companies, and you know, generate this cross-pollination thing happening. Where
I mean, like we were saying, that there's still all of those guys that we mentioned are friends.
Yeah, right.
Boosted guys,
Bustin', Lanyards and Rain,
Restless.
I mean, look,
dudes,
all you know.
the Zenit guys now. You know,
When we started, I think there was like a sensibility.
original.
Yeah. There's a sensibility in the industry, kind of like, you know, every man for themselves, kind of cutthroat. Like we're gonna fight each other to, you know, to the death. Like let's destroy our competition, and like that's not only is it not healthy, but like the reality is like all the people we just mentioned, plus Sector 9 and Arbor and Carver and all these who are all, you know, who are all friends. Why are they friends? Because these are people doing the same thing we do. They're in the same place for the same reason, because they're passionate. They love this. So we share so much in common, and we used Orangatang as an opportunity. Pablo reached out to all the brands that we mentioned using hey, we have this new brand. If you want it, we have it available for you. And then we created like a whole document that we sent to them about like our business philosophy, our ideology,
Our pricing methodology.
how we're all in this to grow together, and let's work together. And it worked. I mean, obviously friendships and
peace offering.
Yeah,
to a degree.
Kind of. I mean,
obviously friendships, but I think it helps stimulate. I mean, I take pride in this.
I mean, saying like, considering that before everybody was in kind of a mindset of like, you know, I'm out for myself, you know.
we don't know that exactly, but
yeah.
again,
I mean, you're saying, but the industry was more isolated.
It was,
before.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
companies were definitely, there wasn't
everyone
as
was doing
much
their own stuff.
cross connection and cross cooperation between brands.
Well, some of the events also helped, because, you know, we'd go to trade shows and events, and over the years, you know, you'd end up hanging out with the
That
heads
same
of that
family. Let's call them. Right?
And we are. I mean, like, you know, people ask me all the time, like, who's your competition? And I find that really hard to answer, because, like, I don't feel like we have competitors. I feel like these are partners. You know, these brands have always been partners. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to, you know, the rising tide raises all ships. We're all trying to do this together. And we've also intentionally, with one interesting aspect of the early days of Orangatang is that we were doing the YouTube videos and promoting downhill and freeride, but we intentionally did not make a downhill board for many years, for, you know, until 2012. And the reason for that is because although we were, you know, we had some of the top racers in the world, we didn't want to do anything. We wanted to help promote these other brands. Lanyouts and Rain, I think, in particular, Sector and Arbor, but Lanyouts and Rain were building some of the most innovative
Downhill.
Downhill setups for sure at the time.
Yeah.
Definitely. And their team was just as strong. I mean, the development was being championed by all those riders and those world-class people they had kind of circulating around there.
And we shared a lot of riders.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and it was the only reason when we did launch a board was in 2012 with the Chubby Unicorn. And the reason we felt comfortable doing that, I mean, it took a long time. That the Unicorn was literally
unicorn.
Yeah. It radically like challenged the nature of what a downhill. I mean, I believe that it challenged what the nature of what a downhill board can be. It was
ergonomically, I think it did some really awesome things with the way that you guys were kind of championing your own style of like W. You know, your own W concave was different from everybody else's. It was more of like a mellower W. There was just all these finite aspects about that board that there was definitely like a lot of thought poured into that process.
Yeah, the construction on that.
I mean, you guys came to the table late, but when you came to the table, it was like you came.
Well, that was the goal. It was like we don't even need to sell.
Do it different as everything we do.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to grow the industry, to grow the space. We're not here to step on anyone's toes or do anything that's been done before. Our goal, as always, like even with ABEC 11, like we intentionally made things different, not just color-wise, but wheel-wise. I mean, we were building for ourselves. We wanted to offer new and hopefully important things, and that continues to be what our design
overall
philosophy
goal is. Yeah. I mean, I see that even now. It's like all the development process is like, how can we take what we've already done and just like see it from a new perspective or approach it from a new direction to like coax out more innovation or
right, and not different for the sake of being different.
No,
different
right.
for the sake of being important.
Yeah,
so that's what's
and to be able to influence other companies to create better things.
Sure. Yes.
Over ours, and then here we go, and then. It's a battle to more creativity, right? For more technology.
Well, that just reminds me of like a side story. In the early 2010-ish era, Roar Rocket started to become very popular. Roar Rocket had these, they still do. They have these vacuum bags, and they were based out of Toronto, I believe, or somewhere around there, and they were working with a lot of schools in Canada in that region. To teach kids how to press their own skateboards.
Oh, wow.
And we actually have some here, and it was amazing because it created this like cottage industry of kids, 16-year-old girls and 50-year-old dudes, and like experimenting and creating, and like so many cool ideas came out of that.
Is that when like essentially was that era where there were so many smaller companies that were starting to come on the scene? I remember there was a time when it was like every other skater essentially was trying to come up with their own board brand. You know? And I remember
it was super cool. I mean, I hope we can get back to that, because the reality is that making boards, I mean, you can make it as complicated as you want, but it's accessible to everybody. With some basic tools, basic techniques, anyone can build their own boards. And like the more people creating stuff, I mean, some of the design influences, wheel flares and contours and concaves and kick shapes and angles, and like so many ideas came out of that period that were just incredible. Do you remember that brand, Last Mile?
Yeah, yes.
They had like the crazy contours. They had all kinds of wild stuff. Yeah. There's all kinds of.
I mean, you remember when you had like Madrid creating the kicktails that you could bolt onto the back of the board to like make
sick tails.
The sick tails. So essentially like modify your downhill board to have a kicktail. It was like really interesting.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool. I hope we go back there.
This is a little bit more difficult to experiment with, like to make these in your garage or stuff. I know it's challenging, but Alex from DTC used to do that in France, remember? And
those are the aluminum wheels that you could return the cores and then he would make
recore them.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, Brad and Tracy at Riptide continue to do that. There's definitely some some interesting. But yeah, I mean, one thing historically, Loaded has always been. We took a black box approach in the sense that like we had this magic factory with the Oompa Loompas making stuff, but and we didn't share historically like how we made things. And in the past couple of years, like I think we're in a tremendously we're in the most creative period we've ever been in right now, and we intentionally want to start sharing more and more of how we make ideas, because how we make boards, how we create new ideas, what the process is.
yes.
So to encourage other people, and we don't have a monopoly on good ideas.
We did a little bit of a video, didn't we, with her manufacturing? In
We
San
did with the
Diego.
Icarus, but that
Icarus,
board
right?
is that's actually the only board that's never been knocked off, I'd say, because it's such,
It's so
such a
difficult to
bitch to make that board. no better word.
Yeah, let's show them how we do it, and then no one would even touch
But-
it. Try to touch it, I guess.
But we have been showing in our social media recently. We've been showing more and more about our production process. We have a full lab here, right over there, where we're able to build boards now in 24 hours. From concept to rideable prototype. And it took a while to figure out how to do it simply, but it is simple. It's relatively easy if you have the right tools, and like that's something we definitely want to be doing in the future, is sharing that more and more to encourage more. Great competition is the best. I mean, that's what we want.
I mean, an engaged community is definitely, that's epic, man. It's just so exciting.
Going blind.
And once again, we don't have a monopoly on good ideas. I mean, we've got great people in here. We have a lot of great ideas. We build the way our design works, and we can get into this in much more detail, but is that, we usually work with somebody in-house who has an idea, like you with the upcoming Simtail, Ari. Like,
Yes.
Which,
Do we have one? Yeah. You want to show it?
I guess we can pull it up.
no, it's secret, dude. You can't show it. No, I'm kidding. Bring it up.
No, you tell me, man.
That's coming out around March. So that's a next generation of what was originally the Pintail and became the Fat Tail, and then now the Simtail, a board that the parking garage, the epic parking garage board.
I'm trying to do something that was like all around with this one, that you could kind of like have a little more, I guess, options on ways to, or what to ride it, or how to ride it,
Yeah. And then the top cart is going to make that
Yes.
little difference, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Dancing, free ride, little bit of light speed stuff. I'm careful to say not to say downhill, but
Yeah, that's not what that's about. But it's a continuum, right? Yes. Yeah, and that's more. We've been exploring a lot of very unique things in the past couple of years, and we intend to do a lot more of that.
Yeah.
But this is back to our carving roots again, which I'm really, really excited about and really stoked.
Looking at the variety here, we had. It's funny looking at the skiff. I was talking to Jimmy back here. Skiff used to be our he used to do the packaging for our wheels. His last name was Skiff.
yes.
John
So he
Skiff.
retired.
Was he was in the video, right?
He was the
Yeah,
most
exactly.
interesting. He is the most interesting man in the world.
He worked in the porn industry, like filming and lifting lights and stuff. And
Dude, the dude-
his conversations were awesome.
The Skiff video was
he had
one
to
of my
he was-
favorites.
He was,
It is one of the
retiring.
Truly.
Retiring.
Shout
So
out to
we
Ethan.
gave him the name of the wheel is named.
We named it after
After
him.
him.
As a celebration of him.
Of course,
So
of course.
It was not. he
Yeah,
was
but
a-
I'm just like thinking now, like,
That's
all
a
the
fantastic
names.
wheel, but
Yeah, this is the Janssen. This is one of the. Go for it.
no, I was okay. I was just gonna ask about another wheel, but that's another one that's one I haven't explored as much.
It's a little bit harder.
Yeah, lesser,
Smaller,
not on my
Or
bandwidth.
pool
but-
Yeah, we don't make that anymore.
anymore. Yeah,
And I think partially because of that, because for most of us, it's not on our bandwidth,
Yeah.
and like we really do. We always do, we always do better. I mean, our goal is to make what we like.
So-
right?
this one we called onsen because we were on a trip in Japan, Donnie and I, and our distributor, we went to onsens,
The
to some
bathhouse,
onsen. Yeah,
yeah.
so
Thermal.
butt naked
thermal
with our
bathhouse.
distributor, like it's like it was kind of weird, but
Never forget.
Yeah, never forget. Check it out. Like,
I'm trying
already
to. I'm
did,
definitely
not
trying to.
It was fun times, man.
That was
I wish
Japan.
I could.
What
yeah,
else?
one of many trips to Japan. Those were awesome.
So yeah, what I was originally going to ask was
dad bod?
about the dad bods.
Because we're being dads now.
That's,
Everyone has like 4 dads now.
That's,
5
that's something unique there.
and moms.
And moms.
A funny story that you guys named the wheels the Kegels, but I remember there would always be like we'd hear, as ambassadors, we'd hear stories of younger kids would go and ask their parents for like, oh, what do you want for Christmas, or what do you want for the holidays, or well, I want a set of Kegels for the holidays.
So let's get into naming conventions, both for loaded and for orangutan, and they have separate but similar. So one part of it is what you just described.
Alcohol.
Well, that yes. Let's
beer,
start there.
beer, better said, yeah, beer.
Beers between us, beers with our manufacturer as well, and just shooting the shit and coming up with stupid ideas. And but with orangutan and loaded, we did it very different very different naming sensibilities. So with loaded, a lot of it was like exploring more spiritual and conceptual ideas, but it was also a big part of it. And this is because maybe we're not very good, or at least I'm not a very good human being, but it's our sales manager at the time would have a very difficult time pronouncing the names. And I sit right next to him. So I get to listen to him, and he'd be like, the ceviche, and the shop would be the ceviche, and then he'd get all confused and flustered, and for some reason that just makes me happy.
Well, it happened in France. I remember when we told our distributor at the time, Board Z, Mark, I told him we're going to launch this new wheel brand, and it's like we launch it, and then like a week after, he calls me, "Hey, dude, is there any way we can name it differently?" And I was like, "Why?" It's like, no one can pronounce it here in France. He's like, everyone says
that's right.
and
That's
he's
right,
like,
yeah.
it's like, and like, no, man, everything's printed. All the
No, but I think when he
branding
said, can you say orangutan again? You're like, nailed.
nailed.
That's it.
Got it.
We're
That's
staying,
it.
we're
We're
staying
definitely-
there.
So when did you guys like
My
start?
respect to French speaking.
When did you
It's
guys
just-
start?
That's what he said.
Exploring the like weirdness of like I know, like, because after the stimulus you went
Well, they
to
all
the durian.
Well, they all were based on what we were experiencing at the time. And so the in
Donnie
heat,
was in heat.
we were having babies. That was right.
That was the reality.
The
And then
stimulus
this was Obama was going to be. It was like Obama for president, or
Yeah, it was or Romney. Who was it? Or
Bush.
Or no. I don't remember. But it was the 2008 elections. So
Okay.
that was
Kerry.
for president.
No.
And then
Yeah,
the durians. You guys were in the Philippines eating durians, and Adam Colton would bring in durians
morangas
into
which
the
are weird. That's the bird, right? Is it?
No,
No,
moranga's
we-
like
that's
cooked
the
blood.
blood tacos. Never had it. So, and the onsens obviously was. We talked about the.
The center sets were funny. I remember.
Did you guys get in trouble for the naming convention with the Kilmer, the Keanu, and the?
No, but we heard that Kilmer.
Val
heard about
Kilmer
these.
actually reached
He
out at one point.
Like,
Okay,
awesome,
yes,
thank you.
that's-
He was stoked on it.
But he
Actually,
doesn't know the
Stoked.
story. The story was, why don't we name them with our least favorite actors
or the actors that we love to hate.
that we love to hate? Because at this point, I love Keanu, I love Val
Kilmer.
Kilmer, and
Everybody's hoping
and
for-
I love Nicolas Cage.
And
too.
Nicolas
we want
Cage.
the cage back.
we were
dude.
if we were to make a fourth wheel, it was going to be the Bullock.
It's in
He's
the works.
making a comeback.
Yeah.
If we were to make a fourth
No.
wheel, it was going to be the Bullock. I remember that was like it was there. On
So
the list.
we did discontinue those wheels because it was a unique urethane and it was hard to get and it was a little slow.
We had
Also,
to buy a
yeah.
lot of urethane up front to be able to.
Also,
produce-
I'd say that I think the shape of it isn't totally dialed, and we are working on a next gen. And I'm hoping that next year we're going to have a whole...
We have new actors now.
Yeah, we got to come with new actors.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess let's stick to that one.
Yeah.
Or singers or pop singers.
Oh man.
The Swiftie.
Pearl Jam.
Yeah, I guess. There you go. Yeah, those were funny. Then
Funny times.
funny times. Yeah.
So
The naming conventions on Orangutan were, they were about where we were and just playing between us and just having fun. And
like
then
Dad Bod.
the Dad Bod, yeah. The Kegels was Dane Weber. I mean, we were the ones having kids. It wasn't Dane. But I remember him being like, you got to do your Kegel exercises. And I love that idea of like, little Johnny going into the store with his mom and being like, Mom, I want a set of Kegels. And like,
there you go.
So,
we heard that. We heard a bunch of those come back.
There was the special edition. Can I talk about that?
No.
Okay.
I heard about the special edition.
Yeah.
We've had a couple special editions, some intentionally, some were maybe a little off color.
It's better that they didn't get released.
Yeah. Let's keep it. Let's keep
they
it at
did,
that.
actually.
They did.
And we got some calls like, "Why would you make fun of this?" I was like, I don't know.
And you know what? We were probably wrong.
Yeah,
but we'll probably still continue to put our foot in our mouths. I'm sure going forward.
This is the caguama because they were like so big at the time, and in Mexico, caguamas are like the 40 ounces or whatever they call them here.
Right.
And when we do the Sayulita trips, which you were in a couple of, and
I remember.
we used to take the whole company to Sayulita trips, and it was just drinking caguamas all freaking day.
Yes, but everybody was just wasted.
Yeah. Well, it's just like it was so hot, and you were sweating the whole time, and surfing, and going back to the beach, surfing. This is caguama time. Caguama.
The trip I mainly got to experience that culture on was when we went to the Taj Mahal place.
The Taj Mahal.
That
was
San Pancho.
way over the top.
That was San Pancho.
San Pancho, Nayarit, Mexico.
Yeah.
That place was ridiculous.
So the story is that it was like someone's like a cartel's.
That's what they say,
went to saw the Taj Mahal and she like wanted it and it was like
boom. It was like
honey, I just need to have this.
So Taj Mahal in the
whatever
middle of
you
the
want,
beach.
baby.
Yeah,
whatever you want. And they built this thing in the jungle. And I remember
crazy,
there was like the river that would go through all the rooms, like the running.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
And then, like
the elephant, like the posts that were like elephant. It was way over the top.
It was nuts.
And we also had like
scorpions.
that was like
prior to that, we used to take over this hotel.
That was beautiful.
That was awesome.
Okay.
So we would like book the whole hotel for us, and we did like it 3 years.
Yeah,
Beautiful pool in front of the ocean. The surf was there. It was just phenomenal.
Yeah, but they closed.
But
they sold that.
They sold it to like a polo.
I thought they were just outlawed you guys from coming back after a while.
We were
Surprisingly not.
We were
Surprisingly
well
not.
behaved.
Speak for yourself. Surprisingly not. But yeah,
I don't know
no,
why.
yeah, we had some great trips. Maybe I can pull. I'd love to talk a little bit more about the ambassadors and like we mentioned some of that era, some of the racers that we had at that time. With
I remember when you guys had that started having some weird crossovers where it was like you had Jacko on Sector 9.
Oh yeah, Jacko. Yeah.
Jacko on Sector 9 riding like the Sector 9 leathers, but then also riding Orangatang Wheels. So
For
it was
a moment, that was happening.
We had some amazing people.
But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, two things happened. One is that it got, to be candid, it got a little weird because we had some of the top riders in the world, and there was a disconnect
On orangutan.
And there was a little bit of a disconnect because we were doing videos that were promoting them and growing them, and that everyone kind of felt like, I don't know, there's just a disconnect between us. I'll leave it at that. And it gave us some questions, and Pablo and I went
between brand and team riders, between company and team riders,
and like we were both, I'm sure we were both right and we were both wrong, and it wasn't nothing terrible happened by any means. But Pablo and I, our wives were out of town one weekend, and you came to my place. You stayed with me for the weekend, and we watched the movie The Man Who Sold the World about Steve Rocco, which I highly recommend. I think I don't know if you've seen that film, but it's just about that era and that history. And, listening to some of these guys like Mike V talking about moving from vision to blind, and like how there was this disconnect between brands, like between the riders and the brands, and people felt they were getting taken advantage of
World Industries. Powell to World Industries.
With Mike V, but all the other guys who went from vision to blind.
Yeah, Jason Lee.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, just like watching that was kind of eye-opening, and we were like, oh, we're kind of going through the same thing right now. And at the time, we still do, but at the time we had a close relationship with Patagonia, and one of our buddies there was making was developing their wetsuit line at that point. So we'd spent some time up there. We met Yvonne Chouinard, and we were looking at their ambassador program and the way that they approached riders. And we built off of that idea, and we decided to create something where it was very much clearly win-win. Like, we created an ambassador program. This is circa 2010, give or take.
9-10.
9-10.
Yeah.
And so instead of having team riders, we decided at that era, we're going to have ambassadors. And an ambassador, I mean, you were one of the early ambassadors.
I do remember, yes.
And the ambassador program was like, okay, here's a list of things that you can contribute. You can make videos. You can create photos. You can do trick tips. You can do write-ups for a blog.
Events.
Run
events.
Charity.
It will back you up. Like
charity. And here's a payment. You do a charity event, we're going to give you a payment for this. Right. And this is part of it. We're going to work together. The more you give, the more we give, and the more everybody wins.
Yeah, exactly. The emphasis was always kind of based around like nurturing the community versus just going out there, getting product and flexing the product,
Right.
And that's when we realized that the guys that were just in here for product and to not do much and just like be rock stars or whatever, those fell off the, they just fell off the list. And then it was a new era of other guys that were shooting all day, filming, creating events, and they were making money because they had a, the solid number that they knew they were making.
They're making money. They were also just like when we and continue to this day when we bring on ambassadors, or now we have. I mean, now
that's a standard, but
now we have
in the day that in 2009 it was like innovative according to us.
And one of the things, like even today, when we pick a rider or ambassador, we're not looking for the best skaters. That's not
looking for best personalities.
Yeah, the people who are engaged in growing their community, and oftentimes those are the best skaters. I mean, there's people, some amazing people. To call you out, Ari. I mean, what you've done also, like in terms of the events that you do weekly, the Gel Lab, and the way you build community,
that
guys
thing,
like
it's kind of
forever, bro.
It runs itself. You know what I mean? But again, it goes back to what you guys were saying, like, creating systems, these these systems that essentially get to a point where they're self-sustaining, this generative kind of, it's like they are their own little microcosms, their own ecosystems. They like protect themselves. Somebody is a radical individual, comes into it like with the intention to be a disruptor. And the whole thing kind of like self-regulates, isolates, or is very interesting. Just,
And to call out, maybe also like just to give credit where credit's due, there's a couple others that I'd like to mention.
Me too. Our team manager, who's now in charge of filming all this,
who needs to come here Ethan, and show his face.
Shout out to our team manager.
Shout out to Ethan, who started as an ambassador. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. That's first and foremost. Lotfi Lamali is
the Loft Sessions.
The Loft. As he does not prefer to be called.
Yeah.
Recently, Jeff Corsi's taken on an amazing role.
Yes, indeed.
We've had some amazing people. Gina
all
Mendez,
around the planet. Yeah.
Dustin Hampton, man.
Who's that? I'm kidding. He's
Dusty was my induction point. He was the guy that like kind of like got me involved in the whole thing. So I have to like
he's amazing.
Patrick Switzer has been of the longest.
I know Patrick. He just he showed up by mistake.
Tamara,
originally, and then Patrick and Tamara have been amazing. the Kyle Chin,
There you go.
There you go.
and then
Pillars of the community.
Adam,
community.
which we may have a Zoom with
Hopefully,
him soon.
yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Adam
yeah,
Colton,
Adam Sikowski,
yeah. Those are
Camilo.
great, beautiful.
I'm sure I feel bad bringing the names up because I'm sure I'm
because
missing
we're
some
short and
many that I can't think of.
Dane. There's
Dane, Mike Gerard, so many of whom are still involved with us in one shape or form.
Mike is on
Maxime Garant,
Yep.
Cami Best. I don't know, we can go on and on,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
these are some just amazing humans. Amazing humans that we've been blessed to. Laurent. Laurent and Alex.
Laurent and Alex.
Power couple.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, indeed.
No.
There's so many characters. I mean, I can't. I totally lose track. I think about all the people that have kind of like come through the skate sessions or have been, on the hills or in the competitions over the years. It's just like so many faces, so many people. Again, like these are connections and like people that you're meeting and interfacing with. So it's interesting. It's more than just. Again, it goes back to what you were saying that like this is something that everybody is doing this because they're totally into it or they love it. It's a passion thing. So it's like all of these people kind of become very endeared to the whole. I don't know, the process of it. Does it make sense? This is like
Yeah.
it's just like
Once again, like that virtuous pyramid scheme, right?
yes, right.
That's the way I like to think about it, right?
Yes.
You spread love, you spread stoke. I mean, that's what we're here to do, right? That's first and foremost. It's to spread stoke. And it has to start internally, right? This has to be stoke between us, stoke with our manufacturers, stoke with our shops, with our distributors,
Yeah.
and stoke with our community. But building community, that's the most powerful tool for spreading stoke,
And perhaps the most challenging one, or one of the most challenging ones.
without a doubt.
It has to be like the right person to organize, run, and continue doing it.
And it's
Not
also
just
like-
like I organized one, I ran it, and bye. Like
a lot of it I think has to do with the environment too, the environment that you're based in. It's like I mean, I know with my situation it's like I have this parking garage, that we've kind of conjured into this coral reef of sorts that like everybody gathers, and it's become this like this location, this meeting place that everybody goes there to do this thing. I think about Doc Session in Paris, and they have their location that's like
Right.
pretty iconic.
And Doc Session in LA now.
And Doc Session in LA that's like, building its own reputation, being, the spot on Sundays to go to.
and Vibe Ride.
And
also.
Vibe Ride. It's
So-
just like all of these different, again, micro communities that are kind of growing. And then, they get to a point where they become their own. It's more than just a bunch of people getting together and just skating around a parking lot or what have you. It becomes its own little microorganism, and beyond just a brand or an identity or a logo. It's like everyone has their own, each one of these little events has its own feel and its own flavor and brings its own kind of niche to the ecosystem, I don't know. It's like,
No, it's amazing what
Yeah.
you do. Huge shout out. You make it
use
sound
links-
simple,
links.
but
well, I mean, I think about like the Doc Session in Paris, for instance, and what Lotfi has, managed to conjure, and all of these different Doc Sessions that have shown up all over the world. You go everywhere, and there's a community of people that you can connect with that are like-minded and meeting, once a week, twice a week, what have you. And I think that's awesome. It's like,
it is. I mean, both because obviously for skateboarding, right? It's
Sure.
awesome on the skate side, but I think much, much more importantly is it brings
course.
people together around the world. It helps people, interact and engage. You can travel all over the world, and we have traveled. Thankfully, we've traveled all over the world, and we've met people from all different
But
cultures and
a
backgrounds.
sense of belonging is what becomes, I think, the foundation of it that a lot of people really connect to. Is that before any of the skateboarding, it's like it's very hard to find that just in your, some people find music or they gravitate towards sports or, they find the team aspect that becomes the foundation of the structure. But I think for skateboarding, it's so it's wonderful in the sense that it's kind of hands off. You know what I mean? It doesn't require the only only thing that your only ticket is your participation. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to like go and do anything, be a part of this or that. It's like you are doing
individual. It's like individual internal feeling. Like
Truly,
it's me, just my skateboard and I. Like
and
surfing,
that's why
well,
it's like I think it almost has, dare I say, like a religious kind of feel to it. That
Spiritual, I would say. I think it's very spiritual. I mean,
it's
it's a weird word, but I think it is very much about connecting with yourself and pushing your own personal boundaries and exploring. I mean, that's what I think I speak for all three of us, but like, I've always connected with those types of activities, with surfing, with skateboarding, with snowboarding, things where I'm with it's about me and my space. And and I also think,
but to share that with other people or to have that understanding with another individual, that's that higher sense is that's kind of rare. I don't think you can find that in a lot of things.
I agree.
You know what I mean? At least physical activities, I don't know, maybe it's like they all kind of get to a certain point, at least for me, and they stop. Yes, you can dive really deep. But there's a sense of kind of framework there that kind of keeps you. I think with this industry specifically, this kind of activity, I don't want to say sport, but
art form.
This art form, it allows you that sense of spirituality, but then also this sense of like connection, that you can go and do this thing, and then at the end of it, turn around and have 5 or 6 other people standing there. They're like shared the same exact experience, and that's very
well. I think it's very important in today's day and age, especially right now, post-COVID world where we're at.
Oh yes,
from a mental health perspective, like. Yeah, I mean, it's what we're doing right now. Skateboarding, as cliche as it is, it's a vehicle for us to do things that we think are important.
Yeah.
To spread that stoke, spread that love, spread those tools for
social connection.
Yeah, for personal growth.
Connection.
So, connection. There's that famous Harvard study that's been going on for like 70 years now, where they followed all these Harvard graduates and all these it's all men, because it was started in the 50s or something, but men from Harvard and like men from like inner city Boston, and it's followed them for 70 years, their family, the generations. And the main learning of it, and I'm simplifying a little bit, but the main learning of it is that the thing that creates happiness and personal satisfaction, first and foremost, is having strong and deep personal relationships.
Yeah.
And it's getting harder. I mean, we all know this. We're all, like you said,
social
or anti-social media, right?
It should be called anti-social.
Yeah.
Right. It's as much as it's,
then again, this is going to be all on social media. So.
As much as, exactly. And it's double-edged sword, right? It's a double-edged sword. It's what it is.
But with the idea that it's going to be on social media, encouraging people to make real world connections, which that's the ultimate goal.
Sometimes kids get fed something different than.
Well, on that note, so we're launching these boards, this board, to go back to it, is the Vanguard. It's the original board that we launched in 2002 and 2004ish. We designed this graphic with our buddy Travis Parr. And then we weren't able to really print it because we didn't have the tools or technology that time. And now we were able to do it digitally printed. We did a limited run of the boards. And a percentage of that is going to go to the Center for Humane Technology that did the movie The Social Dilemma. They have a podcast, For Your Undivided Attention.
Oh, yes.
And they're, what they're focused on is creating truth in media. I mean, I'm bastardizing this, I'm sure, but, is trying to deal with these issues that we're just describing. Was how do you have... how do we encourage our media consumption in a positive way, in a loving way, in an honest way,
honest. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Truly.
And we think that that's why we decided to do this, to contribute. First of all, giving Loaded is very much about always being win-win, right? So having a charitable component to this is kind of a prerequisite. That's part of what we're here to do. And to find something that was meaningful to us, we were struggling with that a lot. Thinking about Wikipedia, which we've contributed to in the past, and other, because they spread knowledge worldwide. But this, I think, in today's day, and we've also done stuff for for mental health. But this, I think, right now, especially what we're dealing with in terms of media what would you call it? The post-truth generation that we live in, alternative facts.
Yes, alternative. Alternative facts. Exactly.
It's just incredibly important and meaningful, and we've intentionally chosen not to be a political entity. I mean, I think that's been something that we've talked about a lot, especially Ethan and I over the years, many times, about how do we. There's many things that are happening in the world right now that we do feel very strongly about. But I think our role of spreading love in Stoke, it's important for us to not jump into the middle of some of those, even if we do feel strongly.
Yes.
Because, we run the risk of actually alienating people and not being able to be as powerful in our goal, which is more holistic of spreading love in Stoke.
And it in and of itself has to maintain a sense of path. You know what I mean? Its ultimate goal is to foment this mindset of connection versus trying to get in the middle of taking a stance on something, so to speak.
Yes,
I don't know. Whereas it's plus and minus, but
and I think it's important to stand up for what you believe in, and I don't mean to deny that, but I think what we believe in is something much larger.
Yes.
That we have this tool, we have this vehicle to bring Stoke, to bring love to this world, to connect people, to show how people worldwide are more similar than they are different.
That has been our ideology all this time.
Yes.
Continues to be. Continues to grow.
Continues to be, yeah.
To grow.
So how, just bringing it back to the ambassador program, how has the ambassador program, how is it now shifted? You were mentioning it's changed, it's evolved. How is it, what's its,
well,
I guess what form has it taken on now as opposed to
we've learned a lot
where it used to be? If it was about, basically nurturing the community early on, where is it now as opposed to then? Is it still about nurturing the community? Is it even more about nurturing the community?
Definitely yes. Definitely yes.
We're now the
we've learned a lot, and I think we've been able to curate them a little bit better.
I see.
And arguably more than that, our ambassadors, some of them, the cream rises, right? Some of them have, like yourself, like Lotfi, like others, like Jeff, etc., have kind of risen to this role where they're actually, permanent members of our team, of our family. They're so that in that way it's changed. But I think in the future, I think we're going to continue to explore this. I think part of it is a changing landscape, changing nature of how media is working today, of how the opportunities for creating community. I know the Gel Labs, right? It's you don't want it to grow further than where it is today.
I think it does.
I was asking for links. You want to send a link out?
If it does grow, I think anymore, it will outgrow its, like a hermit crab. You know what I mean? If it keeps going, it's gonna have to get a new shell, and I'm really comfortable with the shell that it has right now, so to speak.
The shell is a parking structure, just so you know.
Yes. It's just I don't know. It's a great community, and I want the goal is to maintain, like you were saying, to maintain the vehicle that is creating this opportunity to get more people involved and get more people excited about just again, the same ethos that you've just been talking about.
Right. So how do we do that? I mean, it's a good question, right?
Yes.
How do we continue to do that? There's a limited scope to what we can do, right? With Gel Labs, for example. But to expand it even further, we would really, ideally, there'd be multiple Gel Labs. I don't think you can expand the current Gel Lab.
I mean, with the way that it's developed, yes. I mean, around this specific thing in LA, it's kind of become a unique situation. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think finding ways that we can maybe foster those scenarios in other places. I think that's that's going to be what gets people into it. I can't tell you how many people I see just show up just out of the ether and are like, I saw something posted online or somebody told me about this. I'm like interested. And then within 2 skate sessions, within 2 weeks, they're a regular. They're there every week. They're diehard. They're buying the gear. They're,
Well,
so
maybe let's take this as an opportunity to, like, if there's anyone listening at this point, to throw out like that. If you want to create stuff, if you have an interest in doing that, hit us up. We want to support that.
Oh yeah,
we definitely want to see that. We want to encourage the more of this. It's important. It's not only important; it'll help. It'll be good for you, and it's just good for the world. And we all know that. Mm-hmm. That said, I think we should close this one up. And next time, let's get into some of the deeper philosophy and theory and business learnings of Loaded and future directions and what we're excited about and where we're
probably going to be yourself, Tony.
What's that?
That's probably going to be yourself.
Me by myself?
Yeah, no.
Because you guys don't want to be with me anymore?
No,
Is it the BO or is it?
You're great, Donnie. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this second installment of the Loaded 21-year anniversary podcast with Don Tashman and Pablo Castro.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.